Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a live recording of a 50-minute full body flow. We've got the whole gang here today, so find some space to move and let's get started. Welcome everybody. I'm not going to use any props today. And we are also going to start in child's pose. Oh. Wasn't sure if he was going to get up or lay down. So let's get started in child's pose. Should you want to use any pillows or anything at all, feel free to do so. But let's bring our knees out nice and wide. Then you can start to lower down. Now we might move our arms a little bit right from the start here. So you could push into the hands a little bit. Keep your chest lifted a little bit. And maybe add just a gentle sway of the shoulders, kind of side to side. Maybe just notice your hips. And then we could take our right arm and tuck it underneath our chest. And maybe your hand just finds your left knee. And maybe you kind of walk your hand kind of to the outer knee. Maybe on top of the leg a little bit, just kind of snugging the right arm to your chest. Maybe kind of on a little bit of an angle if the hand is working its way down or up the leg, I suppose, towards your hip. But you can lower your chest. You can try to lay on your arm and wherever is comfortable for your hand to be. You'd rather be on the ground, it can be on the ground. You can hold your knee, your leg, wherever works. Might even end up pretty close to your left hip crease. Just kind of laying on your arm a little bit. Bring your head down to the ground too. Maybe your forehead, maybe your cheek. And we're going to stay just a moment longer here. You could try to rest on the left cheek if you've got your right arm underneath your chest, and turning to the left cheek might give you a little bit more of a neck stretch. Might be too much though. And then just slowly lift your head and lift your chest and take your arm. Bring it forwards again. Push into the hands. Lift your chest up a little bit. Maybe give your hips a little bit of a sway. The shoulders a little bit of a sway. And then our left arm might be tucking underneath the chest. Now your hand can stay on the ground for sure, or it can try to find the knee, the right knee, and maybe walking up the leg towards the hip or anywhere that's comfortable, but just start to lower more and more. This side might be a lot different than the other side. Let your head get heavy too. Rest your forehead or on maybe your left cheek to start. And then maybe you will try to come onto the right cheek. And nice and slow. Let's just start to lift the head again, lift the chest again. And you can take that left arm out from under you. You can reach forwards. You can push into your hands again, sending your hips back towards your heels. Maybe add a gentle sway again, maybe the hips, maybe the shoulders. And then we're just going to slowly lift on up onto the knees to tabletop. So you can bring everything in, the knees underneath the hips, the hands underneath the shoulders, and maybe take a little sway of your hips again. Now we are going to be tucking the toes under, lifting up and into downward facing dog. And then from here, maybe pedal your feet a couple times. Lift and lower your heels. But you can start to walk your feet closer together if you'd like. And maybe just keep pedaling the feet one at a time. Lift and lower the heels. And then maybe our right foot will lift a little bit. Maybe the big toe will find the back of that left heel. Maybe the big toe will come to the ground on the outside of the left foot, kind of crossing the leg. But push into your hand. Bring your right foot back just beside the left one. And maybe pedal the feet again, just walking on the spot. Lift and lower the heels. And then your left foot could start to lift. Big toe to the back of the right heel ankle or to the ground maybe. The right side of the mat, push into the hand. And then bringing your left foot back next to the right one and maybe walking again in one spot. Maybe make the bend of the knees bigger. The lift and lower the heels bigger. Stay for an inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to bring our knees back down to the ground, back to our table top. So you can flip to the top of the feet if you'd like. We're going to walk our knees over towards the left side and then drop down onto the right hip. So we're going to lower onto our forearm as well. See if you can kind of tuck your elbow underneath your shoulder. And then we're going to kind of send the feet or the legs out a little bit longer down our mat so that maybe we can kind of balance on the right leg a little bit. But I want you to kind of point your toes. You can keep the knees as bent as you'd like. The straighter they go, the more you might be balancing. And maybe get a little bit of wobble, but point the toes, lengthen the legs, and push into your forearms. Now, your left hand, it can be in front of you for support. It can be on top of you, or it can lift up into the air, and maybe your arm ends up by your ear. And it's kind of a weird banana shape. We'll push into the forearm a little bit, point your toes down to the ground, just a breath here. And then you can relax, bring the left hand down, bend your knees up again so that maybe we can lift the hips and come back up to tabletop. So just onto the hands and knees and maybe take a little bit of a sway through the hips and then scooch the knees to the right, drop the hips down, come onto your forearm. Keep the knees as bent as you'd like. You can add the arm from here too, or you can send the legs longer and longer, as straight as they want to go. Point to the toes, maybe down to the ground. See if you can be right on that left leg. Use your right hand to support you. Check in with your elbow too. Can it be underneath your shoulder? And then push into the forearm a little bit. Try to lift your chest up. What does your right hand want to do? Might be reaching up, might be reaching over. Push into the forearm. Try to even a little bit of a hover of the hips. They're not going to lift, but just try to lift them. Nice work, you guys. Bringing that right hand back down to the ground. You can bend the knees all the way up, and then you can lift back up all the way into tabletop. Give your hips a little bit of a sway, side to side. Then we're going to come down onto our tummies. So come all the way down. You can keep your chin, your forehead lifted though, and move your hands out wider. So maybe 10 and 2 on your clock. Maybe spread your fingers wide and be on the fingertips, or you can flatten the palms, but bend your elbows. Think I'm going to lift my chest up in a second. So as you squeeze and inhale, push into the hands, squeeze your back, squeeze your glutes, lift your chest as high as you'd like, and then hold it there for a moment. Really squeeze your glutes. Try to lift your hips off of the ground too. They're not going to lift, but just try. Let your shoulders fall from your ears. Squeeze your glutes more. Stay for an inhale. And as you exhale, relax all the way down. You can stack your palms now and rest your forehead or cheek and maybe give your hips a little bit of a sway side to side. You're going to move your hands back out to where they were from the fingertips or the palms. Bend your elbows, send your elbows up towards whatever's above you. And then start to squeeze and lift the chest and take an inhale and keep squeezing. But can you relax through your forehead? Now your arms might be straighter now, depending on how high you're lifting. Squeeze your back, your glutes. Try to hover the front of the hips again. They're not gonna go very far, but take just another inhale. And then as you exhale, relax again. Relax, stack your palms, give your hips a little bit of a sway if you want to. And then we're going to do that one more time, except we're going to reach our arms forwards and in front of us. And we're not going to lift our chest as high. My assistant always challenging me here. So you can be on your fingertips. Take a little lift of the chest because we're reaching our arms forward. So the chest isn't going to want to lift as high. Look down this time. Squeeze your back, squeeze your glutes, and see if the feet, the legs want to float too. But we're going to keep the fingertips or the hands on the ground so you can lightly press into them. Squeeze the glutes. Try to hover your hips again. Maybe you're pointing your toes behind you, lengthening through the legs. Nice long hold here. Take another inhale. And as you exhale, relax. Bring everything down. Stack your palms. Maybe give your hips a little bit of a sway too. Nice work, you guys. We're going to bring our hands under our shoulders and we're going to come back up onto our knees. So find your tabletop and maybe give your hips a little bit of a sway, but you can tuck your toes and lift your knees up and then to downward facing dog. You can take a pedal of the feet if you'd like. Lift and lower your heels. Using an inhale, start to look forwards. And as you exhale, we're going to walk our feet to the top of the mat. Take your time. Using an inhale, lift halfway up. As you exhale, fold forwards. Inhale to come all the way up to standing. Reach up and exhale. Lower your arms down to your sides. You can add a shoulder roll in and take an inhale as you reach up. Exhale, fold forwards. Let an inhale lift you halfway and exhale as you fold. Inhale, come back up, reach up. And exhale, lower your arms down at a shoulder roll if you want one. And an inhale, reach back up. One more time, exhale, fold forwards. Take an inhale for a half lift. Exhale, fold forwards. Inhale all the way up, reach up. And exhale, lower your arms down. Nice, you guys. We're going to stay standing. And you can either keep your feet side by side or you can cross the left foot in front of the right one and give your legs a little squeeze together. We're going to reach our arms up. Reach the arms up and maybe your right hand will hold your left wrist and you can take a tip, a lean over to the right side. And just kind of squeeze the legs together if they're together. Maybe pull a little bit to create some length through the arms. A little openness through that wrist joint. And then use an inhale to come back up. Let your arms fall down to your sides. If your legs are crossed, uncross them and cross them the other way. A little squeeze of the legs together can help us stay balanced here. You can add your arms, reaching them up. Maybe The left hand will hold the right wrist this time. Maybe you're taking a tip, a lean over towards the left. Find that side stretch, another banana. Breathe. Awesome work, you guys. Use an inhale. Straighten yourself back out. And let your arms fall down to your sides. Uncross your legs if they are crossed. Take a shoulder roll if you want one. And then inhale as you reach up. And exhale, fold forwards. Use an inhale to lift halfway. Exhale, folding down to plant your hands and step your feet all the way back and into downward facing dog. Stay for an inhale here. Now, as you exhale, bring your knees down to the ground. So your knees can stay hip width apart, but we're going to lift up. So standing on our knees. If you want to roll your mat over for some extra cushion. You can tuck your toes under if you want to, or stay on the tops of the feet. But we're going to reach our arms forwards, palms facing down. Maybe your thumbs will lightly touch. Spread your fingers wide, so wake up your hands. Take a little tip backwards. Just see how far your body wants to go until the quads turn on. And then squeeze your belly button in and then hold it there. And keep spreading the fingers. And then can you soften your forehead, your face, while those quads are getting warmer? Nice work, you guys. Take a little tip forwards. Bring your hands all the way down to the ground. Adjust your tabletop as you need. So everything is just reset. Tabletop. Spread your fingers out a little bit wider though. Have your hands pretty much underneath your shoulders. Our right leg is going to go back. You're going to tuck your toes, push into the ball of the foot. Then you can stay here or you can move the foot to the left. Push into the ball of the foot still. You brought your foot to the left. Send your hips to the right a little bit too. And then bring your leg back straight behind you. If you did, bring it to the left side. Now you can keep your foot on the ground, or this time you can hover it. And then we can also start to float that foot back to the left, but it might still be hovering. And if you're floating your foot to the left, your hips are going to want to go that way too, but send your hips back to the right. So kind of fight that directional pull. Hips to the right, foot to the left. Find the balance there. Now, if you've got your leg to the left, foot hovering or on the ground, bring it back behind you and lower the knee all the way into your tabletop and give your hips a little sway if you'd like. Left leg going back though, tuck the toes, start with the foot on the ground. Push into the foot and then maybe move the foot to the right. Send the hips to the left. Now you can bring your leg back behind you if it's off to the side. Keep the foot on the ground or hover it this time. Point your toes down. Maybe you're sending that foot to the right again. Hips to the left. You feel your sides, your belly work a little bit as you send the hips to the left and the foot to the right. And then bring your leg back behind you. And bring your knee all the way into your tabletop again and take a little sway through your hips. Okay, we're going to come back up to standing on our knees. So lift your hands up, stand on your knees. Maybe you've got to roll your mat under again, but just regroup. Tuck the toes if you'd like, or stay on the tops of the feet. Our arms are going to reach forwards, but then we're going to let the palms face one another. Let's cross. Or let's turn the thumbs down first, I suppose we should do that. So palms facing out. Right hand over top of the left. Okay, our arms are reaching forwards, hands are holding one another. Then take your little tip back until the quads turn on and pull the belly button in and relax your face. And just take another breath. And then slowly tip your way forwards. Your hands can release one another. If you need to shake it out, you can, or if we can switch to the left, crossing over top. Interlace your fingers, palms together, and then you can lean back again until the quads turn on. And you relax your foreheads and pull the belly button in. And take just one more breath. And then slowly tip forwards, release your hands from one another, and bring your hands back down to the ground, back to your tabletop. Take a little sway of the hips if you'd like. And maybe your left hand, if you want to counter stretch for your wrist, take your palm, turn it up. And then you can switch sides, right hands, palm up. And then come back onto both of your hands. And we're gonna come down onto our bellies again. So slide down, crawl down, make your way down. So our arms, we can start with our hands stacked. You could rest your chin, your forehead. You might take a little bit of a sway of the hips. We're gonna start with our left leg. Our left foot is gonna lift up without any help from our hands or our arms. You might point your toes up above you, give the leg a little squeeze, try to bring your heel towards your glute without touching the leg in any way. Just squeeze the leg. And relax your chest. And squeeze just a little bit more. And then go for a very slow lower of your foot down to the ground. And the right foot can lift. Point the toes, maybe up, maybe towards the back of the head. Squeeze the leg. Keep squeezing the leg. But relax your shoulders. And squeeze that leg just a little bit more. And then you can slowly release that foot back down. Okay, we have an option for where we go next. You can keep both of your legs straight back behind you and take your left arm out to the side for our lovely shoulder stretch. And then you can roll onto your left side if you'd like. If you want to bend your left leg again, and you're able to catch your foot with your hands or a strap, you can add that in. You can stay on your belly. If you're holding your foot, maybe you can hold the inside of the foot, but you still have a chance to roll onto your left side, whether you're holding your foot or not. If you're not holding your foot, just have the arms straight out from the shoulder. If you're holding your foot, your arms kind of down on an ankle probably. But we can all think about our right leg, our top leg, if we are rolling over to the side. That right, maybe it's your big toe, might just kind of slide or move behind you over towards the left side of the mat, off the mat, and it might keep turning you and turning you. You might feel a twist even through the back. But for sure, shoulder stretch. And then you're going to slowly bring the right leg back in front of you or towards the right side of the mat again. And maybe that will help you tip back over and onto your belly. If you do still have the left leg bent, you're holding it in some way, you can let it go. And then you can stack your palms again. And just relax for a moment. Maybe give the hips a little bit of a sway. And then just decide, are you going to bend the right leg? Or are you going to skip that part? You can bring your right arm out to the side, focus on the arm and the shoulder. If you want to get a little fancy and try to catch the foot, maybe you've got to add a strap. Maybe your hand can reach it. Maybe you even want to stay on your belly and hold the foot or squeeze the foot towards the glute. But should you have it in your hand, see if you can hold the inner edge of the foot a little bit just to open the chest a little bit more before you roll onto your side if you're going to be rolling. And maybe that left leg moves behind you more and more. You might be bringing the left leg back slowly, kind of in front of you, and that might help you tip and roll onto your belly again. And if you do still have the right leg bent, you can send it back out long. And stack your palms and maybe give your hips a little bit of a sway side to side. We'll be bringing our hands back by the shoulders. Push yourself up onto the knees. And then we're going to find our way to seated. So you can take a seat with your legs in front of you. We can start with a hug of the knees, though, maybe a rock or a sway side to side. And then from here, we're gonna try to cross our ankles. So if the right foot wants to lift, maybe the ankles will cross. If it makes more sense to come into a cross leg seat with the right leg in front, you can start there and then maybe try to lift the knees up. You can hold the knees. You don't have to hold the knees. Just kind of heel toe the feet closer together. So basically the ankles are just crossing. And then you can keep your feet on the ground. You can even have your hands press into the ground behind you a little bit, or you can lean back and try to float your feet a little bit. And then maybe again, it's the ankles that are crossing. And maybe it actually turns more into the crossed legs once you are floating. And you can hold your legs in any way, your feet in any way. But if you do have your feet lifted up, you're going to bring them back down again. And then maybe the left foot can cross over top. Or maybe you can find your way just to a cross-legged seat. The left leg forwards and in front. And then you might lift your knees and kind of scooch the feet together. Feel free to have your hands on the ground behind you. Push into them a little bit. Maybe scooch the feet a little closer. Maybe lean back a little. Try to float the feet with the ankles crossed. Maybe cross the legs a little bit more, like you're sitting cross-legged, but maybe you are floating. You do have your feet lifted up though. You can start to bring them back down and you can uncross them and give the knees a little hug or a squeeze. And you're going to let your knees fall out wide. Bring the soles of your feet together for butterfly. Take an inhale to lengthen through your spine. As you exhale, you can fold forward. Feel the hips. Let your shoulders fall from your ears. Maybe even wiggle your toes. And just one more chance. Should you want to lean back and maybe the feet will float for a second or two, but you can hold your knees. You can squeeze the feet together. You don't have to hold the knees. A little harder on the hip flexors. Press the feet together. Squeeze the belly button in. You can hold your legs in any sort of way. And then just bring the knees back together, whether your feet are on the ground or floating. And if your feet are still floating, bring them back down as well. Just give the knees a little hug or a squeeze. And we're going to move into a quad stretch of your choice. You can either tip over onto the right side, hold the foot, hug the heel towards the glute. Stay on your side. Or maybe you're able to sit, bringing the heel to the outside of the hip and try to level the hips out a little. You can lean back. You can have the right leg long and in front of you. It can bend. But hugging the heel towards the glute or the outer glute, whether the floor is helping you do that or it is your hand if you are laying on your side. If you are seated with me, take a little lean back if you'd like. Just try to level the hips as best you can. Let's take just another breath or two on this side. If you've come to seated, you might have to tip back over onto the right side to free up the leg. You can send your legs long. Give them a little shake. You can tip back over onto the left side this time. Hug your heel towards your glutes. Stay on your side or try to take a seat. Maybe try to level the hips. And a little lean back. You are seated. Stay for another breath or two. And then you can let your right leg go again. Free it up. Maybe give your knees a little bit of a hug or a squeeze. Now we are going to lay down on our backs. So you can find your way down. Our feet are going to start on the ground, but you can bring them closer together, knees bent. You might take your right ankle, foot, cross it over top of the left one. Our feet are going to stay on the ground, but you might start to heel toe the feet wider and let the knees tip out to the sides so that you're crossing your legs, but we're laying down. So you might have to scooch the feet a little wider and maybe a little closer towards the glutes too. And maybe the knees don't want to fall out wide, crossing the ankles anywhere in between. And then just take a moment. The knees were able to fall out wide. As you lift them back up, you may have to heel toe, scooch the feet slowly back in, back closer together. And then maybe you get right back to where you started. And then you can uncross the ankles, feet side by side, knees side by side. The left foot can cross in front of the right one. And then maybe you're heel toeing the feet out, letting the knees open up. Maybe you're heel toeing your feet a little closer towards your glutes, your hips. Letting the knees fall out. And just taking your moment wherever your legs end up. And you can start to lift your knees. Scooch the feet back all the way in and together, and then uncross the legs, the feet. Now, if you want to hug your knees to your chest, give them a squeeze. Take a rock side by side, side to side. And you could keep your right knee and let your left foot find the ground again. And then we'll bring the right foot on top of the left quad. Take your finger of your right hand to your knee and then push your knee away a little bit. Flex your right foot too. So push your knee away from you. Now you can keep your left foot on the ground, or you can lift it. You can lift it and bring your legs closer to your chest again. You can hold on to your left leg in any way, but just notice your left leg. Maybe we can let the calf try to find our hands or like the back of the quad. So we're going to let that left foot lower towards the glutes a little bit. So that maybe if we're just holding on to the back of the left leg with our left hand, you can kind of give it a little bit of a squeeze. And then your right hand, it might be free. And your finger is going to just touch your right knee again and kind of push it away just ever so slightly. And if you have your finger pushing your right knee, let that hand go. Let it go. Maybe bring it back to the left leg. Just find your figure four without overthinking your hands or where your left leg is. Maybe the foot wants to lift up higher. But let's take just another breath. And then your foot can come down if you did lift it. And you can uncross your legs as well. Maybe give the knees a little sway side to side. Maybe hug both of your knees back to your chest. And then maybe you'll keep your left knee this time and your right foot will find the ground again. And then you can rest your left foot on top of the quad and take your finger and push your knee away. And flex your left foot a little bit too. So you might keep your right foot on the ground and you might be lifting it up. And then you can hold on to the right leg in any way. But maybe letting the right foot, if you did lift it, let it lower. Let it lower so that maybe your calf, your hamstring, And kind of hugging your hands, which might turn into just the right hand, holding on to the right leg. And the left finger, maybe it's finding the knee again, and just a gentle press into it. It's kind of it's a micro movement. It's not going very far. Just a little push. You can take your left hand and maybe bring it back to the right leg. You can adjust your right leg if you'd like. Just a few more breaths in your figure 4. Feel that left glute. Take another breath. And then you can release your legs. Your feet can find the ground. Or you can hug both knees to the chest. Maybe take a rock or a sway side to side. And you can continue to hold your legs, or you can bring your arms to your sides. Maybe even you'll be bringing your hands behind your heads. Your feet can float, your feet can be on the ground. Your legs can stay bent, or they can straighten. Maybe you can point your toes just to feel the top of the ankles a little bit. Point the toes, whether your legs are straight or bent, whether your legs are on the ground, feet on the ground or up in the air. Put some effort into pointing the toes. I want you to feel your ankles. And then relax. Relax your ankles. And if your legs are straight, you can bend your knees again. And if you have your hands behind your head, keep them there. But if your feet are floating, let them stay floating a little longer if you can. And we're going to lift our head up, bringing the chin towards the collarbone. As you lift your head up, start to lower your feet down, but press your low back into the ground. Bring your feet to the ground. And then send your legs long if they are still bent, and bring your feet out wide and just lift your chin towards your collarbone. Feel the length through the back of the neck, through the back of the head. And then you can slowly place your head back down on the ground. And you can take your arms and move them to your side. Or maybe your hands on top of your belly. And maybe you need to make a few adjustments. Maybe you are in the perfect place for Shavasana. Feel your breath. Let your body be as still as it can be. You can slowly start to move maybe taking a nice big stretch. You can bend your knees and roll over. Just finding your way up to a comfy seat. Maybe bringing your hands together. Lengthen your spine. Awesome practice, you guys. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you guys very soon. Namaste.